Nigeria Security Council says presidential election will hold on Saturday. CP Kolo Yusuf takes charge of Katsina State Command. On business, banks debunk claim of shutting down services for elections. On international scene, Brazil's term death toll hits 48. And on sports news, Egypt unlucky in defeat to Flying Eagles. Hello and thanks for joining us. That was the headlines for Standard Voice Television News. I am Rahama Ibrahim Dusara with the news in full. Nigeria's National Security Council rose from its maiden meeting in 2023 with an assurance that the Presidential and National Assembly elections, billed for Saturday, February 25, 2023, will hold as scheduled. The Council's verdict has finally put paid to fears and insinuations in some quarters that the federal government may consider a shift in date schedule for the elections. For more on the story, our correspondent Jamila Ibrahim reports.
Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami and the Inspector General of Police Usman Al-Ali Baba said the NSC members expressed satisfaction with the security situation across the country and agreed that the elections are good to go. According to Malami, the meeting was fully briefed by the Chief of Defense Staff, the 3 service chiefs, the IGP, and heads of other security agencies about their readiness to provide the necessary security backup for Saturday's poll. According to him, the Council's meeting was a follow-up to earlier meetings of the Federal Executive Council and the Council of States held last week to affirm the readiness of the electoral body. The Independent National Electoral Commission, the police and security agencies to go ahead with the general elections in the country. Jamila Ibrahim Dusara reporting for Standard Voice Television.
Commissioner of Police CP Kolo Yusuf has assumed duty as Commissioner of Police Katsina State Command for the 2023 general elections, commenced mop-up operations in the state. This was contained in a press release issued and made available to newsmen by the Police Public Relations Officer of the Command, Gambo Isa. For more on the story, Kulsum reports.
The Commissioner warned social miscreants, bandits, terrorists and other criminal elements that it is not business as usual and that they should either leave the state or be arrested and dealt with in accordance with extant laws of the land. SB Gambo added that the command is calling on the good people of the state to continue to support and cooperate with the command in a bid to ensure a successful, free, fair, peaceful and credible 2023 general elections in the state. Similarly, Mr. Lawal Abubakar has assumed duty as the Commissioner of Police ahead of the 2023 general elections in Zamfara State. Similarly, 3 deputy commissioners of the police were deployed to coordinate election security in 3 senatorial districts of the state. DCP Kabiru Audu Zamfara West Senatorial District, DCP Audu Garba Boso, Zamfara Central Senatorial District, and DCP Usman K. Magaji Zamfara North Senatorial District, respectively. Kulthum Muhammad reporting for Standard Voice Television.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ali Baba, has ordered a restriction of all forms of vehicular movement on roads, waterways and other forms of transportation from 12 a.m. to 6 p.m. on election day, with the exception of those on essential services such as INEC officials, electoral observers, ambulances responding to medical emergencies, firefighters, among others. This was disclosed by the first spokesperson, Muyiwa Adejobi, in a statement. The spokesperson explained that the move became necessary so as to ensure a secure environment for the 2023 elections and the management of law and order. The IGP also restricted security aides and escorts from accompanying their principals and politicians to polling booths and collation centers during the elections. The command therefore warned that anyone found flaunting the directive will be severely sanctioned, emphasizing that only security personnel specifically assigned to election duties are to be seen within and around designated election booths and centers. Zamfara State Commandant of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense School, Muhammad Bello Muazu, records another milestone in the fight against insecurity and vandals in Zamfara State by establishing an outpost station at Kagara Area Development Council on the Talata Mafra local government area. For more on the story, our correspondent Sumaya Ibrahim reports.
The outpost station, which was made possible by the district head of Kagara, was commissioned on the 22nd February 2023 by the Command Head of Administration Deputy Commandant Ibrahim Yakubu Dauda, who represented the State Commandant. In his speech, the Commandant obtained that the establishment of the outpost is a product of necessity, given the vulnerability of Kagara Area Development Council and environs to insecurity and brigandage. MB Muazu posits that NSCDC has deemed it fit to be closer to the civil populace in order to combat crime and vandalism at the grassroots. He enjoined members of the Kagara community to avail the Corps all the needed support to enable the Corps serve them better. Sumaya Dosa reporting for Svtv News.
The Supreme Court had adjourned a case instituted by the state governments against the federal government challenging the implementation of the Naira redesign till March 30, 2023. Earlier, the Apex Court consolidated the suits instituted by over 12 state governments. At the last hearing on February 15, 7 states joined the 3 initial states as co-plaintiffs, while Edo and Bayelsa states joined the federal government as co-defendants. The court, however, refused to join Abia State in the suit on the ground that it came late with its originating summons. All efforts by Abia State government to be joined in the suit was turned down and was ordered to present its case at a later date. International Police Chaplain, Sustainable Development and Law Enforcement Nigeria Commandment has stated that forms for new membership into the USA Security Organization Nigeria Commandment is out for pickup by interested Nigerians. For more on the story, Zainab Abdulwasir reports.
The Deputy Commandant Samson Adeshu made this known in a press conference held at Capital Club, Asokoro in Abuja. Earlier, the National Commandant, Blessing Akinsolotu, while speaking on the election observation, said Presidential, National Assembly and Governorship House of Assembly elections, the International Police Complaint, Sustainable Development and Law Enforcement has deployed its members from 13 countries as election observers in Nigeria. According to the body, its members were drawn from Togo, Haiti, Denmark, Burkina Faso, USA, Pakistan, Niger Republic, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Central African Republic, Ghana, and Nigeria. Zainab Abdulwasir reporting for Standard Voice Television.
The Interfaith Dialogue Forum for Peace said possible threats to the successful conduct of this year's general elections must be urgently addressed. Co-chairman of the forum, Reverend Amos Kiri and Dr. Yusuf Yakubu Ariga CU, at a media briefing in Abuja said security threats, scarcity of Naira notes, and divisive politics must be addressed. They said Nigeria's politics is greatly divided across religious, ethnic, regional, and political party lines, and that the emerging trend of religious leaders, political actors, and group openly endorsing candidates based on primordial sentiments portends a threat to democratic ideals. The co-chairman added that the Naira redesign may have been intended to help the economy, but ordinary citizens have faced a brutal brunt of this policy, saying the elections are set to take place against a backdrop of violent conflicts, armed banditry, terrorism, and heightened insecurity across more than 2/3 of Nigeria's landscape. And in business news, banks under the urges of the Association of Corporate Affairs Managers of Banks has debunked the claim of shutting down services for the general elections slated for Saturday, 2023, February 25th. Following the polls, there have been some trending messages suggesting that Commercial Bank will close its services. But in a statement, the association president, Rashid Bolarinwa, said the messages were made by faceless authors. The president stated that the motive was to cause disaffection among Nigerians and the deposit monetary banks. The association further wishes to assure customers that their respective banks have put in place measures to ensure that depositors can, as usual, access money in their accounts during the period. And on international news,
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Sao Paulo State Governor Tarcísio de Freitas has announced that at least 48 people were killed in flood and landslides triggered by torrential rains in southeastern Brazil, updating the death toll as the search of dozens of missing entered the fourth day. The governor said there is little hope of finding more survivors from last weekend's deadly rains, which turned the popular resort town of São Sebastião and the surrounding area into a disaster zone, just as Brazilians celebrated the Carnival holiday. The storms dumped a record 680 millimeters of rain on the coastal town in 24 hours, more than double the average amount for the entire month of February. And in sports news, young Pharaohs of Egypt head coach Mahmoud Gabar has claimed his team was unlucky in the defeat to Nigeria's Flying Eagles on Wednesday. The host fell to a 1-0 defeat against the Flying Eagles at the Cairo International Stadium. The Flying Eagles weathered early storm from the North Africans to win the contest. Gabar's side were denied tries by goalkeeper Chijuke in the second half. The young Pharaohs will take on Mozambique in their final group game on Saturday. And that's all we have for today's news, but before we go, let's take a recap at the major headlines. Nigeria Security Council says presidential election will hold on Saturday. CP Kolo Yusuf takes charge of Katsina State Command. On business, banks debunk claim of shutting down services for elections. On international scene, Brazil's storm death toll hits 48. And on sports news, Egypt unlucky in defeat to Flying Eagles. That was a recap for the major headlines for Standard Voice Television News. On behalf of the production team, Head of News and Current Affairs, I am Rahama Ibrahim Dusra, and stay tuned for the House of Action. Thank you.